Hey everyone, I'm super excited to have Rodgers here with us today. We're here at my house in Lyra. This is Rodgers, actually his first time in Lyra. So that's new for him, and he had pancakes for the first time this morning. He's been helping me on a hanging garden project that I've wanted to do for a couple weeks now. So that was super appreciated of him. And so thank you for joining us today. We have Morgan, who's with my grandma, and JB, and then we have my mom. So I'm glad she found it because she was worried about technology. So I prayed over the internet, but if we cut out at any time, I will try and join back in. It's Africa, so no promises, but I'm hoping we don't cut out. The internet has been good today, so I pray that it continues to be good during this broadcast. So Rodgers is going to be talking about his life growing up and giving you a picture of what life looks like in Uganda. We are celebrating the fact that he just finished secondary school, which is the American equivalent of high school. Only 6% of youth in Uganda, that's ages 15 to 24, finish secondary here. I don't have the percentage for total Ugandans to finish secondary that are over 24 like Rodgers, but it's quite rare, so congratulations to him. I will post links to the study that I just quoted for you guys to look at later. One was done by FHI 360, which is headquartered in Durham, North Carolina, just to show you the findings they found of how much the educational system is not working in Uganda and not reaching enough kids. So it was from 2014, but the facts are still relevant today. If you've heard one of my presentations before, I talked about teachers. Thanks. They say congratulations. If you heard one of my presentations before, I've talked about teachers not showing up to school and ratios of 200 children in a class. What was funny when I was looking up some statistics is that these comments were on Wikipedia. I found that quite funny that it's so common that it's on Wikipedia. So we're going to be talking a little bit about the educational system here in Uganda and Rodgers' thoughts on that, just to show you why our work is needed with Ignite Change so much now more than ever. And so how this is going to be, I have a handful of questions prepared for Rodgers. We're going to start from childhood and go through future plans. So I'm going to be handing my phone to Rodgers, and he's going to be talking, and I will be asking the questions off screen so he can be the focus. And then when you have questions, just post them in the comments, and I'll also read them to him. So please let me know if you do have any technical difficulties. Hey Heidi, we will try to fix those if you can't hear us, or if maybe Roger says something that you can't understand, let us know and we will try and fix that. So I am going to quickly introduce Rodgers. He came into our lives this year when a teacher contacted us and let us know that he was in his last year of secondary, that his help had fallen through, that he was struggling to pay fees, and he was going to have to drop out to get a job and save up enough money to go back to school. And so we stepped in and helped him with the last 2 terms. There's 3 terms of school here in Uganda. So we helped him finish, and now he is here, finished all of his exams, and excited for the future. So give Rodgers a warm welcome. All right, Rodgers, can you tell us about where you were born and when that was?
Yeah, that's Rodgers. Born Ufkia. And so I just grew up in Kyondong district, and a simple family that was just of Katoki Papa pastoralists who nurtured me actually in my childhood was just made to graze, look after animals. After a little bit, for like 6 years, I had to go for schooling. Studied for some few years, like P1 up to P5. Then I dropped out. Continue with our lifestyle of pastoralism, moving around with animals, just looking after them. Because according to our culture, they feel like a young boy is supposed to be prepared for looking after animals, and when he reaches like 18 years, can get married and form a family. That was like their option. That's how they felt according to the culture. But when I continued with that life, I felt like I was not contented, since now the world is going on, modernized, people are supposed to be educated. That's when you can be able to do different work. That's when you can communicate to different people. So I felt like I should be one of people who are educated. So I had to abandon issue of cattle keeping at my late age, or like around 26. That's when I decided to go back to pick up with education. I sat for my primary level, that's P7, according to our curriculum. You study up from P1 up to P7, then you complete the primary level. And then I had to continue, and I joined now high school, senior 1, that's secondary 1, 2. By 2017, I joined A level, for Uganda's curriculum. We have in the high school, we have 2 levels, that's O level and then A level. So I've made it just in this 2018. Meanwhile, when I was in my first term of senior 6, things were not going on well. So I was like almost again dropping out without completing the level. So that's when I started like seeking for assistance, for the help, not until like God directed me or made me meet Madam Emily, and I humbly appealed to her to like support me, and she has made it. She has supported me for the terms that were remaining, the second term and the third term. And actually, all things went on well. I've completed the level very well. So I'm glad, so happy, appreciating, and I still need to continue and see how I can make it to the university. And actually, I also get my life changed and try to change also the background, like changing the culture at home such that people understand that education actually is the key to success. If one is educated, at least you can be able to move all around the world, you can move to all countries, because you are able to communicate to different people. So
great. Hey Liz, thanks for joining. So how many siblings do you have, and where do you fall in that order?
At home, actually I'm the firstborn, but my followers are, according to our culture, they believe, mostly Africans, they believe in bearing many children. So my dad was somehow living in a polygamous nature, so we are 14, so my siblings are 13, and at least we thank God that all of them are alive, no one passed on, and they are all there, though they just live in that life which is not pleasing because they didn't feel like educating them. Some of them have tried a little bit to study, others are just still stumbling around. But life is just like that.
Okay. So what do your parents do for money?
My parents have some little animals. They also cultivate some crops around. They sell some part of them. They get like some money. Yeah.
Okay. What is your favorite childhood memory?
My favorite childhood memories, like I remember when we went for the tour at the Entebbe airport. We went to Entebbe Zoo to look for to see animals. We went for into Uganda Museum. So when I remember that memory, I remember by then it was in 2000, early 2000. So when I remember the moment I had by then, really, I feel like I enjoyed that day.
Okay. So what are some of the lessons you have learned during tough times of your childhood?
So when my mother passed away in 2007, by then again now my dad had to get another wife. So she came in, and as you know, also at times our moms, then mostly the stepmoms, at times life comes hard to the children that he finds at home. So life was not favoring me, was always toast. And it made me uncomfortable at home because of having no mom at home. So such life was not easy to me, and it was not easy for me actually, because of when you don't have mom at home, always life is hard.
Alright. So more about your current life now. How do you spend your free time?
I know because I've just left school, but always my free time when I don't have a job, I watch football. I go for watching. If there is something that I can be kept busy, like reading books, I do read books. At times I go to church because I also like being in the church. Most of at times my time I'm in the church, times guiding the youth, because even like in the church where you fellowship, I'm the youth leader. So when I have time that there's no any other thing like a job, I just go to church. I gather those young boys and girls. I begin teaching them, directing them according to Bible and according to my own skills. So most of my time is done to see that I've done something to the public which is somehow helpful.
What is your strongest personality quality?
Yeah, at least I believe in me that when I decide on something if I've decided to do something, I make sure that I put it to accomplish. So I know of myself not someone who easily give up to something that he's trying to make or to do. Another thing is like I'm someone who believes that anything can be achieved or there's nothing impossible. So I feel like everything is possible so long as you believe that you can make it. And also another thing that I have, I feel like it is part of me. It's like I'm someone who is very social to different and various people of all kind, all tribes, all nations. It's not something hard for me to associate with different people. So at least that one I know it is part of me because I've traveled around. But whenever I reach, even if people are like I'm a stranger, but within few minutes I adopt, they pick me as their part, and so I easily associate with different people. So that one, so I know it as my own unique part.
Great, yes. I think the first time I met Rodgers, we spent like 4 hours talking. So that is very true. So tell us about your English level when you finished primary 5, when you were younger. Could you have a conversation in English, or was your English very poor?
Actually, by then English was very poor because, as you know, like someone who grew from villages, you studied 4 days, other days you're absent, you are not in even private schools, you just join these public schools where at times teachers are not motivated very well. So the English was just somehow little. I could make a conversation but not at the perfection.
Did you feel comfortable talking to people of other regions? Were you able to communicate with them in English?
Yeah.
Yes. At primary 5?
Yes, because okay. I remember after primary 5, I dropped out, but I was able to move. I went in Rwanda, where I had never reached. I talked to people, could meet different people, as people from Congo, from Tanzania, from Burundi. They would come at where I stayed, where I was working, so we could associate with English. I could try my level best at least to make a conversation. However, other words I could go off, but again I pick as someone who just knowledgeable in just wisdom from inborn. So I could do link and I join. I tried to make a conversation. I was someone who could associate with different people using English.
Great. Yeah. Hey Tina, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, welcome.
What were your class sizes in primary? Class. How many other students were in your class in primary?
In primary, actually, it's because of being a public school where, like in Uganda, we have this issue where government pays for teachers, so the class was always congested. We were I remember, in P5, we were around 170, almost. Others, they would drop because of poor education system. Others drop, others join. So we would at times rise to 200. Others, because of poor families, background, others drop out to come to 180. So, but I remember by the time I completed the primary 7, primary 5, we were around 170. Yeah. Okay.
For the teachers out there, like Tina and my mom, I want you to try to imagine having 170 3-year-olds or 4-year-olds in your class. So let's talk about secondary. What teacher during your time there had the most impact on your life?
Yeah, how the teachers in secondary, how they helped me. It's like I joined when I was somewhat old, and some of my teachers were my age mate, but I remember there was one teacher, actually was also somehow young even compared to my age, but he always kept on emphasizing I should not look around. He could always tell me education has no age limit. So he would always emphasize and support me morally, not maybe in supporting finance, but he could give me ideas, give me books to read. Actually, he could always look for my weaknesses, that subjects that are disturbing me, where I'm not catching up. He could always be part of me. He could try to be closer to me to see where he can help. So he made me really love now education, because he could always show me that the nearby future I will have done with studies, and my life will be changed. I will have a better future after persevering of the condition. Perhaps I could always look at it as if it's not easy, but he would always be closer to me to comfort me, to make me feel comfortable in the class of young guys, girls and boys. So that teacher helped me. He was called Mr. Bashir. He was a Muslim guy. So that guy really, I always remember his work towards my studies. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So everyone out there, please let me know if you have any questions about his childhood or his education studies. We're going to continue talking about secondary. So what was your favorite subject?
Actually, in secondary life, my favorite subject was geography, both in O level and A level, because I liked it since I joined senior one. So I did it well, and I passed it very well. So when I even went for A level, because now in A level you are supposed to get like 3 subjects, and then and the 2 subsidiaries, that's sub-maths or at times with general paper, but geography was always the best subject that I liked.
Where do you want to travel to? Because you like geography.
According to my dream, I don't know whether because in geography we learned about USA mostly, like in Canadian prairies, we learned about mining in USA, we learned about things of like the weather conditions of USA. So I like that country, that nation. I like it. If God can make me reach there, then I'll call it achieve the dream.
Good. So one of our supporters, Julie, she sent me an article about an 88-year-old in Kenya who just finished primary school. What are your thoughts on that?
Anyway, Kenya also is good, because I hear of, like, in most of geography, part of our syllabus dwells on Kenya's geography, like the volcanic mountains, the Kenyan highland, where whites had made their settlers by a time of colonials. So those are the areas that you feel like Eastern Rift Valley. So I liked Kenya as part of our neighboring countries, but you don't know. You see, we always like feel like things, but Kenya also I like it, because when I hear of its being a border of Indian Ocean, you feel like so it's also another nice country to move to.
So you should not feel old because the man was 88, just finishing primary, and you are finishing secondary. So do you see many of the children in your village going to primary school?
Actually, the education in our village still, people are still having poor attitude towards educating their children. So we find that there is a lot of child labor. Instead of sending all children at school, find some of them are in garden, others are looking after animals. So the education in our area is still low. That the children who are going to school still, the percentage is still very low. That's the reality.
And how about secondary school? Do you see most of the children dropping out at that level?
Yeah, because at least I remember most of them more so part of girls, and some little boys who cannot persevere by the situation where, because most of like the people within our vicinity, most are like poor. So when children find that like this term there's no fees, he sits at home for one term, goes back for the second term. Now most of them, they easily give up and they decide to drop out and go and look for these casual jobs around. They leave issue of education. Then girls, for them, when the family is like that, others they opt for early marriages, others they are impregnated by those youths who are also around, having nothing to do. So the percentage of also the dropout percentage is also somehow high according to other areas where there is somehow improvement.
Yes, northern Uganda has the worst educational rates in the country, where we are and where you are. Hey Keely, welcome. So, does it surprise you that only half of Ugandan children finish primary school?
Yeah, there are not many.
Does that seem high or does that seem accurate?
Actually, it is like moderate. It is in the middle. It's not high. It is just like moderate. The percentage of children who complete primary level, still it is not quite high. Like maybe areas where they try to study and complete very, like in cities, in improved towns, but in rural areas and the up countries, still the percentage of people or children who complete the primary level, it is still somehow moderate.
All right, so tell us a little bit about your first job.
Well, my first job, it was done actually for me to have like a job. It was in 2008 up to 2012 when I left and I joined Now Education. So my first job was I was working in a hardware where they could sell building materials, come to things of paints, like for vehicles, for buildings, different paints. My job was to mix those colors to make the one color, because most of colors we always see they are mixed. So I was employed specifically to do that job in that hardware for 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that is Kigali, Rwanda.
Yes.
His father and mother are Rwandese.
But those were my grands.
Okay.
Ones who came.
Okay.
But my parents, my real parents, father and mother, they were born in Uganda, so they are just Ugandans by birth.
Okay, great. So Liz wants to know what skills are learned in primary versus secondary school. And I want to make a comment that Rodgers, he started primary when he was 6, and then he continued until primary 5. So Primary school is about the equivalent of elementary school here, and then secondary would be like middle school and high school. But they have changed the system now so that children are taught in local language from primary 1 until primary 4, and then they switch to English in primary 5. They pick up where they left off and all the skills, and they're just supposed to expect to learn things in English. So you could imagine the English level has dramatically decreased because that's not accurate learning. It's just switch languages. So when you were in primary, you were taught in English, correct? From primary 1 to primary 5? Okay, mostly. But, so yes, the skills you would expect in primary would be equivalent to our elementary. And then for secondary, they follow more of the British system of they kind of choose an area of study and they take more classes related to that. So say biology, or what was your area of study? What was your focus area?
In biology, we have actually in part of biology, there are different issues they deal with, but biology is combined with chemistry to, at times agriculture, so we find that when you go to those things, but mostly in biology we learn about like human system, you learn about things like of plants, you study about animals, the behaviors, like very many the functioning of a human being, the growth of like plants from childhood, how they adapt to sunshine, how they manufacture their food, how they grow, how they release oxygen, how they also use oxygen carbon dioxide to manufacture their food. So you study a lot of things, both plants and animal life. Most of biology is.
Can you tell that he's passionate about education? He's been reading one of my books since he's gotten here. He's been excited. So how many students were in your classes for secondary level on average?
Then average the whole school or the class?
Like one of your seated classes.
In the classes?
Yeah, in the classrooms.
Actually, average they are always like 140. That is in the upper, like in the A level, because A level again it is another hectic level, so few people join. But in the O level, like from senior 1 to senior 4, there are many. At times you go to even 300. But from there now they like other classes they make like streams. But again, due to dropping out of school, you find again by the time students join A level after this O level, the number again is reducing. That's why you find like now in the class you find like 140, 130, at times 100. So because A level is quite expensive and hard, subjects are hard. By then people have not specialized to some fields. You decide some few subjects, so you find that most of children fear joining A level. So the number in A level again is reduced compared to O level.
Students in secondary are definitely expected to study on their own and be very self-taught in addition to going to class. So Keely wants to know what your favorite food is. Favorite food.
Yeah, that one again I enjoy. Most of my food is rice.
What's your favorite?
My favorite is rice.
Is rice? Okay. Made a certain way or just plain rice?
Yes.
Like is the rice made a certain way or just plain rice? No seasons, no soup, no.
Soup, yeah, when it is fast paced, it's nice. But in all ways, I enjoy that food.
Good. So Keely also says you paid more attention in school than she did. He was also much older than you when he went back to secondary. When did you start? You started secondary. How old are you now? Again?
At this time,
Yes.
I'm 32.
32.
Yes.
And so you started secondary 6 years ago?
Yes.
Okay. So 26. I can do math. All right. So what is your dream job?
My dream job is to work as accountant or in the banking, like being in the bank or accountant. That's part. Because though I liked geography in A level, but I could do economics also very well. So I feel like I want for the university level to specialize in part of accountants and the banking, managed banking, because that's how that program is at university. Accountants, or you may be given accountants, or you are given to deal with now banking system only. So those are the fields that I feel at university I should do. Then I did that.
Sure. I had no influence on him saying this. My mother says, yay, a math person. So what other jobs are you interested in? I know you talked about community, being in the community, and or maybe being a teacher. Have you changed your mind in the last month? Or?
Yes, because actually by the end of A level, when you complete exams, when you are filling forms to universities, because there is a form you fill, such that the government gets those forms. Also, apart from maybe finance and those issues of banking and the accountants, teaching also I placed it there because I like training people. I like teaching, like imparting like some knowledge in people. So I also placed it there in case maybe I don't get that chance for the other first alternative. I can go for teaching. I can go for like work as this doing a tourism and the management issue, those things. So I feel like for me, actually, I like where I associate with people. I like a job which will makes me have service to different people. So that's why I like practical job where you meet people comes, you serve them, you associate with different people as you are giving them service. So I feel like those are the areas maybe for all goes on well, you can deal with one.
So what is your greatest hope for the future?
My greatest hope.
Hope for the future. What do you hope for in the future?
Yeah. In my future, I hope to achieve my goals, and I hope to change my family such that at least I've become like a light in my family and the many benefit from me. So I hope after completing my university and I get like a job, I need to have influence, an opposite influence to my family. Either they get at least a helping hand from
Good. So the one group watching said that they think you would be a great teacher because you're very passionate and focused on helping others.
Okay.
You probably shouldn't be stuck in an office as an accountant. So what, as you're entering into the new phase of life, what is a skill you would like to learn beyond just going to college and getting a degree? Is there another skill that you are interested in learning?
Yeah, actually, I remember when I was in my last exams, I talked to one of my friends. I told him, in this fact, it's like before I go to university, I want to get a certificate of computer and then a driving permit. So those are the things that I felt like I should have achieved before even going back to books by August next year. That's what I was hoping for, to get to know computer very well. And then because I had went for some driving school and I learned some driving a bit.
Yes, Liz, you have to finish secondary before you can go to university.
Yes.
You cannot jump from primary to university. You have to actually even finish. So like he said, you have ordinary level, which is secondary 1 through 4, and then you have advanced level, A level, which is 5 and 6, which he just completed, and you have to finish A level to go to university. So it's very expensive, it's 6 years, and it's very limiting. So, they say you are very bright and excited about education.
Yes.
So did the flashlight help, guys? Trying to make this work. What other questions do you guys have? We're about to. I have one more question for him, but I'd like you guys to get in any last questions you have. So I will give you a minute to think. Let me know if something wasn't clear or you want him to elaborate on something. So if you don't have any more questions, what else would you like to share with our viewers from America about you, about Uganda? What do you think they should know?
Anyway, Uganda, what I know in Uganda, the Ugandans in general, most are somehow hospitable. Uganda, for us, we call it the Pearl of Africa, called the motherland, because it's a nation that combines different Africans. Actually, in Uganda, it's a country where you move and find different races, not only Africans, but even from other continents, because it is somehow a free country which has no issue of like their selfish, their tribalism. It is not so much common in Uganda. So they are free people. They associate with anyone that comes in. It is a welcoming country, at least what I've tried to observe in Uganda. When you read about its history as we move around, it's a country that combines and comprises of different races. That's part of you. That's what I can talk about Uganda. Its weather is, it has a conducive weather that at least favors different people from different continents, because it has some areas which are hot. To those people who are like from Middle East where it is hot, they have areas where they live and they feel it is somehow related to their environment, and there are other cold areas like around across near the equator. Somehow it has some warm and wet weather. So Uganda actually it is a country which welcomes different races. Let it be to the people, to the Ugandans, and its weather conditions at least tries to favor different people. So it's also a good country to live in.
Thanks.
Yeah.
What he is saying is that you should come visit.
Yeah, it's good.
Well, thank you everyone for joining, and thank you for lots of good questions. Thank you for listening to us and me and Rodgers and dealing with our darkness. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in and caring and sharing. I really appreciate it, and we all really appreciate it at Ignite Change. So let me know in the future what kind of live videos you would like to see, or anything, any comments you have, feel free to share. So, thank you very much. Have a great day. Bye.